Hi. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had a technical hitch and the internet went down and I think we're back now. Yeah, the internet went down, so and then for some reason the couple of the streams continued, but the main one didn't, so I had to restart the whole thing. And so where I was at was just looking at Sol BTC. So Sol BTC obviously hasn't had that same break up from the triangle that the US dollar pair had. The chart has loaded now. I was wondering where all the data was before. And has actually broken down from this. So I've got an alert set, just if we get a bounce on this 2 week below. But I think it made a monthly supply in there. Or even like 3 month supply. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, so it's come off a 3 month supply. So yeah, I just wasn't bullish on this, and why I also wouldn't really long the US dollar pair. That rejection off 3 month supply is not good. Oh, it did take a wick through it, but was that later or? No, it took a wick through the 3 month supply, but a swing fail of that 3 month supply, and then I expect lower. So even that's optimistic. I actually would expect this probably to go all the way back down there. So yeah, I'm not bullish on Sol for that reason, or I don't think it's worth looking for longs on Sol at this stage. So, and then the others, so I think, so Dot, Atom and Nia, I had 3 week supply on all of those, and I had them all alerted, but I think only Atom hit, unfortunately, so the others still have in there. So Nia, I had a long entry, deeper in this 3 month demand. This didn't quite hit the supply up there, so I guess we'll see what the reaction is here. It is in the 3 month demand. But again, I need to look at the BTC pairs and just think about these a bit more. Obviously it has broken trend, it has got significant supply in there now. And I still think, there is, as I've said for a couple of the others, there is is this an A, B, C wave? Is it a C wave to make a triangle? I'm not necessarily thinking that that's the most likely scenario here. But the BTC pairs tend to help a little bit on that. Again, this is really just a massive range, but and it's right in the middle of the range, so I guess we'll see. Dot. So similar here, it's had, again, this is similar to a lot of the other alts I've charted actually. It's just in a sideways range, it's underneath that green level. It's come back up into there. Come back down to what's now like a weak demand. It might get a bounce because it's at the base of the range, but it's not necessarily high probability. And finally, Atom. So I was more bearish on this because this hit 6 month supply, and then I think it also converted that to a yearly supply. I think that was at the end of last year. Yeah, so it's now a yearly supply, but previously it was a 6 month that got the test in there. So I was more bearish on this full stop. Does have a 6 month demand, a dubious one, because it's from when the exchange started trading. And again, yeah, so I'm not surprised it's wicked deep into this monthly demand because it was a weak monthly. So again, I would probably prefer this lower. So again, I think on all of these, I'm still going to be looking for shorts because I still think the downtrends are being, for the most part, retained. But I need to look through them quite a lot more. Right, on the alts, so yeah, I just wanted to show, so I've had 162 alerts in the 2 days that we've had of February so far. And in comparison to, I have a lot of alerts generally, normally it goes from the 1 to 200 range, but I had 187 in January as a whole, whereas I had 162 already this month. And somebody asked me earlier, what I was more bullish on, and to be honest, there's been so many that have gone, all I've done is just sort of add them to my watch list. So I can't really say what I'm more bullish on. It'll be the one, so what's worth looking at, I think, if you want to know what I'm more bullish on, is probably worth looking at the shorts that I did over the last couple of weeks, and maybe they've been obliterated now because I'm not sure, but for example, Hype, I think one of the ones I was more bullish on. So what do we have here? Yeah, we had it was a weak 5 day demand, but I said again, it was worth watching. It's taken a wick all the way sort of through that, but this is something, it might still continue from here. Hive, I think, was another one. Was I bullish on Hive? yeah, again, I think I was more bullish on this because we had an annual demand, but then, and again, it's hit my entry there. So I was looking, so I had an entry on the 3-week and the monthly here. It's made a significant move up from there, broken the high, broken structure, broken some supply. So it was one of the ones I was saying, yeah, it's worth looking for longs on a retest. And obviously it's come quite down. I think initially I said possibly on the top of this weekly here. So obviously it did get a bit of a bounce up to a 5-day supply, but now it's come back down to the base of this. But if it's going to still keep making an uptrend, then there's still a possibility that we're going to get some continuation similar to like this structure. But yeah, for the ones I'm more bullish on, I think even I need to go back and look. It's worth seeing what I put as shorts, because those are the ones that I was saying I quite liked. Jasmine, I think I wasn't more bullish on this, but this had a really good bounce. Let's go down to the lower time frame. Yeah, and it's come back through anyway, but this had a really nice bounce there, but again, straight back up into 2-week supply. So this is the problem, is that you're looking for things that are strong. I'll take some of that stuff off. So this really nice bounce off 3-week demand here didn't quite get to the monthly or even the 2-monthly all the way down here. It's made a strong move up. It's tried to bait the trend line, so worth looking for a possible long entry on a retest. But you can see if the market's not in your favor here, it's just gone back through. So I had another alert on this monthly demand if it came back for a proper test. So now is this going to pick up again? I'm not sure. And it's not looking great right now, but it's just the 12-hour close, so it's just started. What else? Am I overly bullish on anything? I don't think so, to be frank. I mean, a lot of things have just hit demand, so I would say if there's things that you like to trade or things that you've been familiar with trading previously, or anything that you believe in on the high time frame, then it's worth looking at, because most of them hit support. ETC is another one that again I was more bullish on, but just overall structure, but even that's wicked very deeply back down into this 3-month demand. I liked this because the grayscale chart was pretty strong. I'm not sure how that's going to look today once it opens, but yeah, that was so that was a more aggressive entry there, but even that didn't get very high, and now it's dipped back deeper. FET I was more bullish on the BTC pair, but then this I was very bearish because it made 3-month supply, and it came off 3-month supply, and then it's made a new 3-week, but didn't test that for me. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these now are back in major demand. So if you're a high time frame trader, then sure, you should certainly be starting to look for long entries. But if you're a scalper, then I would say wait, because most of them are bounced already, and now we need to wait for some consolidation and structure to see if we're going to get any continuation. Unfortunately, because I lost the stream, there's no one there now, so there's nobody to ask me about specific coins. But I guess I wanted to talk about some of the structures, and that was kind of what my plan was here. MOG, I need to look at the other chart, I think. So this was, again, the higher low, possible entry there, and then I have had an entry down here on MOG, as you can see on the other chart. BTT, it's another one that's taken a nasty wick through the zone. So I'm going to need to update all these charts again now. So this is still in a major monthly demand, and it's come back to a support down here, but it hasn't held for the higher low. So, but again, like a lot of these are sideways structures, so I'm just not 100% sure. I need to put a lot more thought into it, as to what I think my high time frame bias is now. But I've said on the others chart earlier that I'm looking for a bounce based on where the others chart is, so there's certainly nothing wrong with looking for long entries. There's another one that has just gone through. So some of the ones that went through, basically the earlier entries I had, this one, the alert probably should have gone over here. So the earlier entries that came through on the 1st and earlier yesterday, obviously probably going to run through down to the next zones now, and the later ones I think are more successful. ACH was one of the very strong ones from before, actually, so this is possibly something worth watching for the high time frames. It's now hit a monthly demand. There is a 2-week and a 5-day inside that, so it could dip deeper. I had a short possibility for taking out these highs, you know, so the short has worked, but now we're back on monthly demand on this. But this was one of the stronger ones, so that's probably worth watching. ACX, another one that, you know, didn't get a bounce off the top of the 3 month there and has dipped down deeper inside. Let me just grab a cigarette quickly. Since TikTok have banned me, I don't have to worry about smoking on camera, because apparently I researched this, that apparently Twitch and YouTube don't mind you smoking on stream, whereas TikTok will bin your videos. Maybe that's why I got banned, although nobody ever told me, so I don't know. I'm still fighting the ban. Actually, I was thinking earlier I need to check. And they emailed me about it. So yeah, ACX is back on a support there. Aero. These are all the A's, because these are all the ones I charted over, you know, in the streams at the start of the month. So it'd be kind of interesting to go back if I could be bothered and look at actually what I said. You know, some of them I was saying, you know, if they were holding. So yeah, so structurally we had these monthly demands, we had these trend lines on virtually everything. In some cases we've come back through them, others we're still on the top, like here. If the timing's right, we're getting bounces on the top, but they're generally not lasting very long. So for example, that had a bounce on the 3 week here, and it just came up into a weekly supply and has now dropped down into the monthly demand there. If they did have a monthly demand, I was putting more conservative short entries. Yeah, depending on what the structures were above. Lost my mouse now. Depending on what the structures were above, I was putting more aggressive or less aggressive short entry. So on this, for example, I had quite a non-aggressive short entry, but and also they had so much chop through here, it was quite hard. So I put some more aggressive ones on the majors, which you saw all kind of worked out actually really nicely. Okay, this is another one that would have hit earlier. Lose a big level there. So this has obviously come back down into a 6 month demand here, so certainly worth watching. It's come through that weekly, but again, in a 6 month demand. So this, you know, while the alert here is at the top, excuse me, not letting me get it. The alert here is at the top. Obviously, it can go much deeper into this 6 month demand and still be valid. So you can keep an eye on that. The AI ones were obviously the big narrative. So, you know, those are definitely worth watching from an alt perspective. Yeah, so AI here, AI16Z, this has hit a weekly demand here, so that's kind of worth watching. I had a short up there at 5 day supply. AOS, I don't know if this is an AI one or not. I assume so, since it starts with AI, but I'm guessing. I'm just going to throw another alert in here. This is obviously looking like it's fairly likely to take out that trend line. So it's still in 2 month demand, and it looks like there's a 6 month level over there as well. But again, that's probably likely to be dropping through and at least taking stops in that zone, if not going lower. Bear in mind, this is very quick analysis I'm doing here. I'm not thinking through as much as I could be or should be. So this AI, so this is obviously run through the zone as well. And also just missed my short alert there, so that's kind of annoying. So some of these also have history on Dex Screener, so it is worth looking back, you know, to see if there is support here. If not, then just wait. You know, you need to wait for structure to give you something that's worth as tradable in here. But if this does swing fail the lows here, then for it to look to go back and take out the swing fail the highs there is actually very reasonable. So this is another one that's worth watching. Algo, so we do also have I need to go over the US list, so Algo also a really nice test there on the 2 day zone that I've had. And again, very just clean here, you know, a rejection off weekly supply, comes back into probably 1 or 2 day demand in there, rejects 3 day supply. I think in this case I didn't put a short entry, I went with the more conservative short entry because this has actually made annual demand by the looks of it. No, it hasn't. But I think also because it was one of the US coins come back into 6 month demand here, so yeah, that's certainly worth watching. Anything the US based, although I did see quite a funny comment earlier actually that Trump has decided to not tax crypto. That's great for the US, but he's decided also to dump crypto so that it doesn't need to get taxed because nobody's going to have made any money. So that kind of amused me to read that. Yeah, so this is one of the on the US watch list. So worth keeping an eye on that on the 6 month demand there. Alice, I think, just broke the low. So a lot of these are now just breaking the lows. And it's kind of funny to think, these are the ones that people were so excited by back in 2021 and just how horrendous they look now. So I did have an alert on this at the low. I haven't got across there. So I alert these at the lows just to see, if it's going to swing fail. It's possible if it's going to swing fail. So you get the two choices here. Either we're looking for a swing fail and some structure to then start getting into a long, or you're looking for it to break down, close below, retest, and then drop. So those are the two scenarios when I alert a low or a high. But obviously the trend on this is still down. We're still off 3 months supply. Yes, it might swing fail, but we're only guessing at this stage. Alpaca, another one that's kind of pushing down towards all-time lows. It bounced on this daily in there, but it's not exactly high probability. Alu, this is a stronger chart. I don't even know. Is this just a MEXC? No, this is BitGet, Blofem, Bybit, and MEXC coin. That's an interesting one, another 6 month demand. So I guess the ones you should be looking at are the ones that are on 6 month demands, and ideally ones that aren't coming off either a break of all-time high or aren't coming off monthly or 6 monthly supply all the way up here. So yeah, 6 month demand on that's a nice one to watch. I think just had a massive breakdown. Yeah, so this is another example of something breaking the low, and this has come back up and tested. Seems to look like it's tested the close on the low this morning, and then it's tested the low and just dropped straight off that. So that's something I would start looking for shorts on. And really, everybody wants to know what to get into, but I'm still biased to looking for shorts really. Mainly because these bounces have been missed. If you get retests of these levels, then look for longs. But really, rather than kind of FOMOing in halfway up, start looking for where you're going to join in the short game here. Because if you look back at previous things like this, we have that fall off a cliff, then we have a few days of pushing up, retests, and then drops further. And these are still, it's difficult because they still have these 3 month and monthly demands, like in this case. But coming off that lower high, it is possible that this just goes back up, tests in here, and then we get a much bigger drop. There are still levels down here that haven't been tested. So, Ape was one of the super ugly. I think I had these on here because I was saying, and this was also in one of my previous streams, just to illustrate, everybody's calling for alt season. Every time this happens, people call for alt season. We get a bounce, alt season, alt season, alt season. And I think I got sucked into it there. You can see I've got a few long entries, and here I went, no, this is not alt season. This is hitting 2 monthly supply in this case. We need to short. So, and I think also when I did the analysis of this, I'll say, yes, you can get a bounce in here, as same here, you get a bounce when it comes back and tests the demand at the lows, you are getting bounces through, but the actual high probability entry is the short entry. Yeah, I think that's why I had those circles there before, that these are the alt seasons that people keep calling, but really this is not an alt season. This is a whole bear season, and it has been a bear season since 2021 for so many things. Not everything. I think the market is very mixed, but I just don't think there's an alt season like people like to talk about. The alt season it's going to be meme coins, it's narratives, it's meme coins, it's the US coins, those certain things. But for the market as a whole, it's just not really ever alt season, or it hasn't been for a couple of years. APT, again, just another one of the sideways range, lower high, lower low, lower low. Probably going to come back down to here, and this also might just break down now. It's a fairly nasty wick going down there. I need to take that alert off the high, because I don't want to, can't waste my alerts by having more than 2 on one chart. I need to have one long one and one short one, and that's it. So yeah, this has come back into a 3-week demand, but it's a sideways range, and it was a weak demand, so it's come heavily into the zone. So yeah, this educational thing that I was going to be doing this afternoon, it was very much talking about what's a strong and weak zone, and so a lot of these zones that I have alerted in here are weak zones, and that's why we're seeing them either wick heavily into them or break down. So again, this is Arda is just another sideways thing, another test in here of monthly demand, may or may not pick up as support. Arkham, that's a bit cleaner, I kind of like that a bit more, at least it's come back into a clean 3-week monthly demand down there, and it has a bit of space. So again, ones you want to look to long, you want to look for these ones that have some space. It's got chopped through here, but at least it's got space to this supply. Arc, really nice short on that, and then back down into 2-week demand for a possible long. So yeah, I mean obviously all these have hit alerts, so we're either going to have seen them break down, or we're saying we're saying them ready for longs, because obviously they've hit demand entries predominantly. There are a couple, 2 or 3 in here had hit supply, and ARPA is one of them. So this, while everything else was dropping, this did wick up into 5-day supply, and this also highlights one of the risks that I was talking about. You know, when I was saying throughout this drop has been so slow. We've had, you know, here we've got a 2-week supply that it's run through. We had a 3-week supply that has run through into a higher 3-week because they're stacked. Like, I don't like stacked zones so much. Sometimes you can get a rejection off the bottom, but sometimes they can run through. So some of them in these cases, I ended up putting a more conservative alert in case we got a wick through all of this, and this ARP has illustrated that. And then it's rejected hard off there and come down and taken out the trend line. So that would have been a pretty nice short in there earlier yesterday. RT, I hadn't heard of this quite, only charted this a couple of days ago because I saw somebody talk about longing it. They would have been horribly wrong. So I threw in an alert that I think they were trying to long here, again based on multiple tests on this level, but I mean, maybe they got that wick, or maybe that was why, I don't know. But yeah, for me, the entry was lower, so we're back on monthly demand on this now. AR. So you can see the kind of wide variety of structures we've got here. So this was off an annual supply, you know, we had a couple of longs in there, but then obviously rejected again off that annual 11 and monthly supply there, so it's come down a lot deeper. And yeah, so nice possible long on this. This is a decent long entry. So there's quite a few that are decent long entries, and the ones I say that you need to kind of consider are the ones ideally, so in this case this is a bad example actually, the ones ideally that aren't coming off annual supply up here, the ones that are newer and have shown the strength and that they've got a clean demand with a strong move off it. They're the ones that are worth watching. So something like this isn't bad, but the difficulty here is that it's coming off annual and then monthly supply. But now back down in monthly demand, there's no reason it can't get a decent move off for a long here. Astra, okay, so this has just died. Take some of these levels out, so this has just gone back on to take everything out here. And again, actually hasn't quite swing failed the low, but again, coming off 3-month supply, we expect it to take out the low that made that high. So this has got a little bit lower that it could go, so I wouldn't be longing that as yet, but you know, never know, it might have. The other problem with these and things you should check is, you know, this is the spot chart, you know, so it's possible that the perpetual chart has already taken stops, or that other exchanges have taken stops below here. So those sorts of things are worth watching. Auction, yeah, that was an aggressive entry on the 3-day there, and it doesn't really surprise me. It's come back down through a couple of those zones there to the lower 3-day, and there is a monthly a bit below. So some of these I think can possibly still go a bit lower, looking in general. AVAX, another one, yeah, it's gone to try to take out a lot of those trend line stops and taking out some major zones in there. So I'll leave the monthly level in, even though strictly it's gone through the monthly, because, you know, arguably this whole zone is the monthly, not just, you know, where the bottom of the wick is, but just in case it picks it up at support again later. But something like this, again, lower high, I probably still expect a lower low on this, either just to take out that low or to come down even deeper. But again, bigger picture is just a sideways range. I don't want to go through every single alt because there are 162 of them, but it was more just to see, you know, what's holding, what's broken and stuff, particularly on the A's to H's, since those are the ones I've done more recently. So badge is another one, it's just come back and down into a monthly demand here. It is holding, but it has trend line stops. So a lot of these trend lines could still get taken out. Use my computer. Really? I think the cleaner must be touching my laptop downstairs, which should be off, but then it thinks I'm using two machines at the same time then. CRV had a kind of decent sized drop again to come back through. So some of these more aggressive ones now, we've had an aggressive wick, are not surprising, they've come through a bit deeper. Something like this I would still probably want lower, so I'd be looking for a retest and then a secondary drop on this. Let's look at some of the more negative ones, so Degen back down in a weekly demand. Weekly demand coming off monthly supply. Yeah, I'm just like, these are just, it's still just indecisive for me. And again, just to reiterate, you know, this is, you know, the retracement, is this an A, B, C? Is the C going to go to here, or is it going to stop where it is now? You know, is this the start of another impulse? I don't think so. I don't think it's strong enough. And you know, if this was an impulse, then we would have expected it to take out that high. But then, you know, it's just indecision. You know, you can long here if you want. It may be a triangle, but for me, it's just basically guessing at that point. It's 50-50 on whether it's going to be a triangle. Dent's another one that's gone through the monthly demand there. Yeah, and so one of the other comments I've made through a lot of these, when I was doing a lot of these, the A to H's, you know, is that, you know, that so much of this stuff is, the ones with history are all in these sorts of ranges, you know, at varying degrees. Some of them have come back already to test down here, others like this is an annual level here, so it's just holding on the annual level. But, you know, with the significant 3-month supplies above, and, you know, when they start making, you know, this actually might have made a 6-month, I think that might have been a bit more aggressive on that. Let me see what the 6 months is looking like quickly. But it's, yeah, like obviously it's just a sideways range. Is it just going to continue this range, or is it going to fall off a cliff, or is it going to break up? You know, for now we're just back at the bottom of the range in many cases. Let me just see if this did actually make a 6-month demand in there. Oh yeah, so this one, I think I put the lines in, but this wasn't clean. You know, it hasn't closed with the 6-month demand, and then there's a possibility of 6 months supply, but obviously we've got a few more months till that happens. But yeah, it's just very much a sideways range, weak demand. It hasn't held in that case. Dexy actually was one of the strong ones, so this is something that I still quite like. It's difficult to like it, you know, when it's right up in supply, but this was one of the aggressive entries I had, and that actually, despite the dump, has held. So that's an interesting one, and one that's worth watching. So we did get a big wick on this. So this weekly demand that I had alerted previously, it did get a big wick inside it, and then it came and closed high. So I then put another aggressive entry on the new 2-day that had been created. So again, that's still holding quite well for now. Whether it'll last, I don't know. I don't know why this has momentum compared to anything else. Let me see if there's any of these others. Elon was one of the other ones I was fairly bullish on. So yeah, that's come back down into 3-day demand down there, and a 2-day. There's a 2-day even lower inside that 3-day. So that's something you can still keep an eye on. It was difficult because it did on the MEXC chart, but I think on the perps it didn't quite hit this, but it did wick up close up to this 2-month level, but didn't quite hit. But then it has got 6-month demand here, so I was continuing to be relatively bullish on this, despite the fact the market's just fairly hideous in overall. But that's something that's worth keeping an eye on. ETC I've already talked about, FET I've already talked about. FWOG people kept buying, but I was like, no, this should be a short. Didn't come back from my short entry, is still in the kind of long area, but yeah, people were buying this all through here, and I just sort of put the alert down there and thought we'll wait. It's actually held, I think that hit kind of early in the month, actually maybe on the 1st, so that's actually held quite well, despite. Hive I've talked about, and Hype. Not that there's anything else in here I was particularly bullish on. JUP everybody seems to be bullish on, but that's also just another sideways range, and that did. So yeah, that's come deep, made a weekly demand, but it's come deep inside it. But it's just a sideways range on that. Navax is green, so let's have a look at that. Not much that's green. Okay, so that's come off 3-week demand at the lows. Not much I can say on that. Pepe, people like, oh, Pepe and Doggy I should probably look at, shouldn't I? So Pepe, again, this is kind of a similar structure to what I talked about on Sol and even on Ripple on the higher time frame. Again, we've just got this triangle and then distribution. So I think, you know, there's a distinct possibility this is just going to fall all the way through this. This might take some time to do that, but so I had an alert 4-day demand inside the 3-month. So it does have 3-month demand. It's come down kind of, you know, quite deep inside into this 4-day, 5-day area. But yeah, I think I'd probably be looking for, I guess like the thing here is like if it does get back up here, oops, didn't mean to do that. If it does get back up here, then it's probably not following the triangle die pattern. But so it's where do you look for shorts? But then, you know, if something, so what you're looking for is if something like this is weak, if it can't get very high from here at all and really just rejects, you know, there's this 2-day zone right here. So if it just rejects in there, then I'd be looking for the bigger short on that. If it starts to show significant strength here and the market really does bounce from here, then it's probably not going to follow that, you know, and then we might get the rejection up here, but then it might consolidate for another move. So yeah, again, just needs more time now after a big drop like this. We always just need a bit more time to see what's going to develop. See if there's anything else. Oh, Raysol I was kind of bullish on, I think, when I looked at that. Apparently not. Only bullish, I guess, because it doesn't have history. But yeah, that kind of hit. I think that might have tried to bounce. Maybe I just looked at it at the wrong moment when it was trying to bounce. So yeah, that's obviously come, it's taken out that weekly zone in there. So no, I guess I'm not bullish on that particularly. Rune had some FUD and completely fell off a cliff, so don't, you know, while that is hit 3-month demand and 3-week. I think there was some fairly major FUD, bankrupt or something, so I don't necessarily think you should probably be looking at longing that. But really it's just following the same structure as everything else anyway. I'll take that short out now because it's too far away. Anything else in here? Nobody on stream listening to me anymore. I guess they're probably... Oh, Toshi, Toshi was definitely one of the strong ones. So yeah, okay, so that's held well. So that's good and something you should keep an eye on. So when it's come through, so I did have the aggressive on the 4-day. It's come through into this 12-hour just below. You know, I said there was a 3-day and a monthly down there if it does fail. But yeah, Toshi is something definitely worth watching. Obviously be careful if it's made new supply above when it gets back up there, because it's hard to know, you know, when these things might be over entirely. But yeah, that's something you can potentially scalp low time frame. 22% down on whiff, and that's even today. That's nasty. Nasty, but again, not surprising. More of aggressive entry there. So let me throw another alert down here for 1 week demand, then 2 week, 3 week. So throw another alert on that for that, so that looks like it's probably going to fall. I don't think it should necessarily hold that zone. Owns AKL, 17%. So the only thing that's up. So this was, this is like one of my bigger picture that I like. I mean, who knows? Like, this could consolidate forever. I don't know if the market's even going to allow it to go up, because while it's a sideways, so I guess what I'm seeing obviously is that it's a sideways consolidation. It's hit hit supply, the daily supply there once, it's hit it again here and gone through, it's hit it again here. So I was kind of hoping that this would hold and we'd get more of a move up. I think I did say I put the alert, more conservatively on this 3-day below, but it was worth watching this weekly level. So we did get some wicks off there. It's hard to know. I mean, I guess this could break up and it could break down. It could still go either way. I just like that it has limited supply. But it's still got to be ready to break out, and the market still has to allow that. It's got a lot of wicks here, looking at like there's a lot of selling coming off the highs. So I don't know if this is some weird manipulated MEXC thing. But at least it has a clear invalidation, if it starts breaking down here short of a swing failure. And also it did have this, I think I was wanting a new monthly demand to be formed as well, so we didn't get that. So we had a monthly demand, but I was hoping we'd get a monthly close above here. So unfortunately that's not as strong as I'd like it to be. And it's also in this weekly zone isn't particularly strong. But yeah, this was just a bigger picture worth keeping an eye on, because it's at least holding the consolidation quite nicely and doesn't have much supply going on. I think I'll say, okay, let me have a look at Doge quickly, because somebody said it had finally fallen off a cliff yesterday. Need to sort my list actually. If anybody else finds this, that sometimes when you sort the list, it just doesn't sort. Pressing sort, and eventually it seems to sort, but it just takes its time doing it. And sometimes it's sort of half the list. This really doesn't want to sort for me today. It's sorting in the reverse. Okay, now it's sorted finally. Okay, so that's interesting. So this has come down and hit a 3-month level there. So you can see that on there. So this is the US dollar chart. So it's come and hit a 3-month level there. So this is potentially an interesting buy. My busier chart with actually all my drawings on it. So, oh my god, how many times do I have to delete these levels and they keep reappearing? Okay, so the US dollar chart obviously has wicked a little bit into this 3-month. Like my alert again was a little bit lower, so I alerted the annual on this. So I would still like to see this come down lower. So I guess a lot of these things are just pointing to me is that we're probably, we probably dropped, and we're probably going to get a retest of supply and then another drop. And that's still not much of a drop compared to the up move it did. If you see the up move here, you had a long retracement. And even this, a very long retracement. And it's another one that's just, it's at the highs. Is this going to pick up and push up to all-time high? Possibly. Can it do it off the 3-month? Yes, very possibly. Would I like it a bit lower? Then yes. And again, it's on these. It's looking at the other thing to look at is the fib retracement. So I think I've got a fib here that's the whole move. Yeah, that's the whole move from the lows. Because we do now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is possible that this is a 5 waves and we're going to retrace the whole thing. And if that's the case, 61 would be all the way down here. And then the 61 of the immediate wave is back on this annual level. So I would prefer to buy when we're at a discount, and this is still not really at a discount. It's probably hit maybe the 50% fib. But maybe on the linear, I am on the log scale, so maybe on the linear scale. So yeah, on the linear scale that it has come deeper. It's come down to the 61.70 fib and the 61 of that large wave. So yeah, it's possible it does bounce from here, so keep an eye on it. My preference would still be a little bit lower. But yeah, again, you're looking now for the retest. Are we going to make a higher low, and what kind of consolidations these things are going to give? I wonder now if Bitcoin's coming down while I'm talking, which is making these start to retrace a little bit. Let me see. Oh, lost all my charts. That happens when the downstairs computer comes on at random. So put this back to the XBT chart. Yeah, so we're starting to see a little bit of a retracement here. So yeah, we just need to see some build up PA today. You know, are we gonna make a higher low here and continue up, and you know still hold this daily zone, or are we going to push down and take some more of these stops? So on Bitcoin, yeah, like looking for local PA to see if there's long entries, and then looking also for possible stop hunts, taking out some of these lows that we've had from previously. Probably put them back. So now that's the new low that we'd be looking to take out, and all some of these lows further down here. And then, like I say, if we break this daily demand, then the world might end. But until we see that happen, we're okay. Yeah, I hope that's helpful. Let me see what Fartcoin did. Yeah, so Fartcoin we had a very nice short. I did put add a short entry on Fartcoin there. Popcat's looking very ugly. And yeah, so if you want any alts, please do let me know. Probably it's one of the 667 alerts that have hit. I'm going to go to the gym now, and I'll try and do that educational video this afternoon, and then I can share that later. Have a good afternoon.